This is my recipe box. It used to take up an entire drawer in my kitchen. You all may or may not know this. I'm on this quest to be more organized in my personal life, but I'll just give you a peek into what I go through when I host Christmas dinner at our house. So my grandmother used to host Christmas dinner at my grandparents' house on Burbank Drive on the west side of Atlanta. It was like Jesus feeding the masses, taking 5 loaves of bread and 5 fish and feeding everybody in our family, because we do have a big family. But when my grandmother passed in 1999, the thought of doing things or trying to replicate what she had done every year was really painful. So we created something new. We started doing a brunch rather than a dinner. And that's when I really started exploring cooking. So at some point, I started keeping my recipes. So it looks a little unorganized, but it really is a very methodical process that I go through. I look at my old recipes, my old menu for the day, and I decide what I want to cook for this year. So this one goes all the way back to '03. So in 2003, apparently, I cooked curry chicken, salmon, turkey, and lamb. And what I do, I break it up in the different categories. I do this every year. So under bread, I had monkey bread and pumpkin bread. Miscellaneous, I had congealed salad, which my mother must have made that because I don't know how to make that. Grits casserole, breakfast pizza, waffles. Under vegetables, I had vegetable casserole, asparagus. I crossed out some things. Carrot souffle, roasted sweet potatoes, something. Dessert, I did red velvet cake, sweet potato pies, Oreo cheesecake, socket to me cake. That was one of my grandmother's best cakes. A bread pudding, a whipping cream pound cake. And then I had some starches. I had some rice. I did some French toast, an oven omelet, and smothered shrimp. So that's just one from '03. So I go through this every year. And then I go through these recipes. So these recipes, a combination of places. Some that people have given to me. I used to get them out of Ebony magazine. I don't know if Ebony still does recipes each year, but they used to have the absolute best recipes. I even have a cookbook from Ebony. I would get them out of Essence magazine. Our local newspaper used to do recipes on Thursday. And then I would try different things. At some point, I started separating the recipes that I make a lot, so it would just be easier to find. So I thought this was my grandmother's socket to me recipe because I found something like this in her basement when we were cleaning out her basement. Oh, here it is, right here. This is my grandmother's socket to me cake recipe. And I found this when we were cleaning out her house after my grandparents passed. And what made it so special, I think maybe I shared this before. I started baking just before my grandmother passed. And she would try and tell me things about cooking, and I wouldn't listen because just being not very thoughtful and naive and not living in reality. She would try and tell me things about cooking and baking, and I thought if I learned these things, that meant she wouldn't always be around. So silly. And they're recipes that were just completely lost, which is part of why I'm really getting so much joy in getting my mom on camera cooking, because I don't want to make that same mistake again. So anyway, my grandmother's socket to me cake recipe. I think I'm gonna make that this year. So this is kind of like my secondary bag. So let me just back up. When we host Christmas brunch at our house, we have a really big family. Big extended family. Derek's family is here. My family is here. We're 2 people from Atlanta. I know people find that hard to believe, but there are a lot of us here. And so we've had upwards of 75 people here, even for Thanksgiving, which we normally don't host here, but we hosted here this year. I thought that we, might have 20 people maybe. We ended up with 40 people Thanksgiving. So we prepare a lot of food, because by the time all of our cousins come and somebody brings somebody and friends come, we're very welcoming. So we start early, around noon, and then we go on into the evening. Usually ends up with playing spades or something. My mother made me get up from the spades table on Thanksgiving in my basement. She said that my ADHD had kicked in and I was not paying attention, so I had to get up from the table. That's another story. So anyway, this is my secondary bag, meaning that like if just depending on what I want to do. Actually, it's not my secondary bag because that's my whipping cream pound cake. I don't know, but it should be my secondary bag. Maybe this is my primary bag. I don't know. Anyway, somewhere in one of these bags will be the recipes that I cook the most of, so I can just go and find them. Should be easily. This is what happens when other people start touching your stuff. Some people were helping me with some organizing. Move my stuff around. So let's see, what do we have here? Monkey bread. That's an easy one. That's a good one. This is an old Ebony. Oh, seafood brunch pie. This is so good. This is really good. This recipe, sweet potato pie. One of the recipes I did not get from my grandmother, and I was devastated because I know y'all all think y'all make the best sweet potato pies, and your mamas and your grandmamas do, but my grandmother really did. And I found this recipe in the Atlanta Journal-Constitution newspaper, and I showed it to my mom, and she said, that's it, that's mama's sweet potato pie, and it's it. This is it. I changed it up a little bit over the years. This is whipping cream pound cake. This is Derek's grandmother's recipe. It's starting to fade a little bit, so I need to, Jamie and I have discussed, I want to laminate and try and make digital copies or make sure we preserve all these things. But thankfully, I got this recipe from Derek's grandmother. I don't know if you all remember Mix Oreo cheesecake, Mix restaurant. If you've been around Atlanta for a while, that's one I make. Key lime cake. My sister likes that one. Let's see, what else do we have here? Oh, this is from Ebony magazine. This is an easy red velvet cake. You start with a box cake and you doctor it up. So you all get, oh, this is a good one right here. Another one from Ebony magazine. This is a sweet potato cheesecake. Problem with this one, I make it and then I eat it all. And then just some other recipes. This one's from Essence. This is something easy from Essence. So you get the gist. So let's see. Here's my 2022 list. Oh, and I have an asterisk here. I allow people to bring things. I don't usually allow people to bring things. What did I do? Meats, leg of lamb, ham, my mama brought, fried fish, jambalaya, seafood pie, monkey bread, Brussels sprouts, broccoli, caramel cake. I bought a cake. I don't usually do that. Sweet potato pies, pound cake, Oreo cheesecake. Somebody dropped off an apple pie. I did punch. So that was a pretty thin menu. Any suggestions on how to keep these recipes? And thankfully my daughter Lincoln is starting to enjoy cooking in the kitchen, and actually Lance is cooking a lot. And these are my dogs we just have lots of surprises. This is Zeus. Hello, Zeus. Zeus and Age have decided to grace us with their presence. Kids are on break, so it's just all kinds of disruptions. But you know what? I'm thankful for the disruptions of family. These are good disruptions. So anyway, you get a peek inside of my chaos. I've told you all before, with my ADHD, it's organized chaos. I usually know exactly where to go for what I want, even if it doesn't make sense to anybody else. And these are recipes when I get really adventurous. Breakfast, a whole folder, soups, beverages, vegetables, bread. And believe it or not, I used to try a lot of these recipes, the things that you have time to do before you have kids. So now, life has been lifing. I got pretty busy doing some other things, but I'm excited about diving back in here and trying some new things. All right, happy holidays.